So without further ado, it's now my pleasure to introduce this morning's keynote speaker, Representative Ben Lujan. As a Santa Fe area local and as a congressman, Representative Lujan has been a longtime advocate and supporter of the maker community. As a member of the Congressional Maker Caucus, Representative Lujan has been actively supporting makers in his district and around the country. Last July, Congressman Lujan introduced the Public Library Innovation Spaces Act, which would broaden access to makerspaces and libraries across the country through a grants program supported by $10 million from the Institute for Museum and Library Services. Congressman Lujan's work exemplifies this year's theme of intentional inclusion, including supporting rural communities and as a member of the Native American and Hispanic caucuses. Please welcome Congressman Ben Lujan.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How about giving it up for Dorothy, huh? You know, there were a lot of thank yous that Dorothy shared with everyone, but like I was reminded in the back room there was some killer chili and some little bit of New Mexico magic. You got a big thank you because Dorothy, everyone knows this, and this is what I've learned from talking to people this morning who I met for the very first time. Dorothy just gets things done. It's a matter of her just digging in, and she doesn't look back, but we never thank her. So let's give it up for Dorothy one more time, everyone. Thank you so much. No, truly, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry if that bothered you, so I'm working on it too. All right, okay. So welcome to the City Different. Welcome to New Mexico, to our city of Santa Fe. I hope that you get a chance to get in a little bit about this beautiful place that we call home. The chili is addictive, so be careful, but we can ship it. And I'm certain that a few of you will figure out how we can make sure that we get it wherever we need to, fresher, tastier, and maybe with a little more heat than we already introduced into your lives. So please fall in love with this place. And Dorothy, by the way, Zane, Zane, let's give it up to Zane Fisher. Zane, Dorothy said that she wants to maybe move here. Zane can help with that. And so if you haven't fallen in love with Zane's tiny homes, which, you know, it's living in luxury. It's one of our unsung heroes in Santa Fe in New Mexico. And I was chatting with Zane before I walked in. And what I love about him is he doesn't wait for people to say, well, let's do this. Or we should have a meeting about thinking about, planning about how we might be able to get together and maybe get this done. He just does it. And he pulls people together and it's infectious. So Zane, thank you for being a champion and for being the leader that you are and just being for a cool guy. And by the way, just make sure that when I put my order for my tiny house, it just moves up a little bit in the queue. I don't want to have to wait 10 years. Home for me, so I grew up in a little valley just north of here, a small little farming community. There's a lot of history here in New Mexico. The oldest capital city. I have to remind my friends out on the East Coast and Plymouth Rock. No. You were here before you all were. There's a lot of history, and there's good and bad with it, right? Like everywhere else in the world. But the reason I talk about that is there was a sharing economy here before you could do a search on a shared economy and pull millions of hits up. Out here, water's precious to us. So if you pour yourself some water, you better drink it. And don't dump it down a drain. Go find a tree that you can pour it into, all right? So that's just a little bit about where we're from. But water is so precious out here. And way back when people moved to this area, they went up into the watersheds and they built these 3 foot by 3 foot wide, 3 foot deep aqueducts, is the way I call them. We call them acequias here, into the mountainside. And they brought that water down from those mountain sheds like an aqueduct system would do in ancient Rome. And they brought it down into these farming communities. And the only way that system worked is if in good times, everyone got more water, but in bad and scarce times, everyone had to share that resource, and it went from one family to the next. Well, in New Mexico, though, if you don't get your water when you're supposed to, you get your shovel, you get on your irrigation boots, and you start walking to the neighbors to see who's opened up their gates. Sometimes it's a pleasant conversation. Sometimes not so much. But I share that with you so that you understand that in this cool little city that you're visiting, so those of you that are from New Mexico and from Santa Fe, thank you for coming out today and welcoming everyone. Everyone that's been here, whether it's before or here for the first time, come back and get to know it. It's a creative space, not just that shared economy that I talked to you about, but, you know, microbreweries are popping up all over the country. We have incredible distilleries. Well, we've been doing that here for a long time, too. We've just been doing it without a license. And so you're still going to find some incredible recipes, stuff that you're not going to find anywhere else in the world. But everything that I love about these creative communities is the notion of what a distillery or a microbrewery means, and that convergence of what people are doing with the chemistry, of what they're doing with metals, of creating new techniques and ways for us to be able to have a little something that brings us together. That's New Mexico. As Mayor Weber always says, it's the next cool city to start your business. It truly is. So if you're not going to live here and move here, work with Zane and we'll find you a temporary space. So I gave a big shout out to Dorothy, Andrew Coy. Andrew, I don't know where you are, but a special shout out to you for all the work that you've been doing here as well, and for making New Mexico the inaugural home for our Nation of Makers Conference for NOMCON. Thank you so very much. By the way, New Mexico, Zane, right? We can become the permanent home for your conference, so we'll work with you on that. So we really want to make a positive impression. I'm not going to repeat all the sponsors that Dorothy already gave a shout out to, but I do want to throw one in there, Meow Wolf. We're so excited about a bunch of artists that got together, and George R. R. Martin, who took a chance on them, and they came together with just this incredible space that goes in and just messes with your mind. So if you get a chance, go check it out. But here's the killer thing. It's not just that those artists got together to create and make this incredible experience for all of us to share. They took a chance and they said, look, Las Vegas wants us, Austin wants us, Denver wants us, other cities want us. We're not going to go and take all the fabbing and the manufacturing out there. We're going to make it all here in New Mexico. And so they took over this old abandoned manufacturing facility, and they just started fabbing everything, making everything in there. A bunch of artists collaborating with engineers, with programmers, with planners, playing with elements and substances, and creating art, but experiences, and a bunch of memorable moments. So please get a chance to go and experience everything that Meow Wolf has to offer. And now I know that I missed some of you in the audience with some thank yous, and I apologize, but everyone here, just thanks for believing in this. Thanks for not waiting for people to challenge you to do things, for being creative, for not asking about the rules or the how or the why that will constrain you, but rather the how and the why that allows you to imagine and actually get the stuff done. I'm proud to be a member of the Congressional Maker Caucus. There's more than 30 bipartisan members of this caucus. So, look, you all are also helping Congress do what we're supposed to do, get along and get things done. Makerspaces is one of the few areas that you actually have Democrats and Republicans coming together. Now, I'm a Democrat, so don't confuse me with one of my Republican colleagues. But nonetheless, in the spirit of bipartisanship, I want to make sure that we're telling you thank you, because you're convening thought leaders, well, leaders, to get, that was a joke. You're convening leaders together to make sure that we're not getting in your way, but that we're listening to you and we're learning from you, so that way you can do what you do. And that's the idea of this from a policy perspective. So please get to know your local elected leaders. Challenge them. Make sure that they're doing things with the cities, with the counties, with the states, federally, public libraries. Get to know those school board members. Challenge them to do more with our public schools. It's brick and mortar that's sitting there, and it turns out that they turn the lights out at night. We can use those facilities, which is really the genesis of one of the pieces of legislation that I authored in conjunction with a lot of people in this room. We have public libraries just about in every community across America. They're learning environments, they're creative environments, they're the genesis of where we once went to learn before we could access the world and all the intelligence out there in the palm of our hands. Let's not forget about them. We know that we need brick and mortar for a lot of maker spaces to take it to a whole other level. So let's use them. It turns out that Federal legislation, though, precludes libraries from using money to be used as makerspaces. How dumb is that? So anyhow, that's the idea behind this legislation. People are coming together. Please make sure that we're working with leaders from your states so we can get this done. It's a stupid rule, so let's just get rid of it. That's what I've learned from a lot of you. When you see dumb things, just like push them to the side or make them better. So I need your help to make this one better. The other thing that I love about the theme around the conference here is intentional inclusion, right? So I went and I did a little digging, Dorothy, and it turns out that there's a doctor by the name of Linda Burrs that came up with this, right? With this notion of what intentional inclusion is. And here's one thing that she said. It is one thing to teach people to be aware of their differences. It's quite another to teach people the skills necessary to live with and deal with each other's diversities. It's pretty powerful. That's what this is about. Look past those differences, embrace the diversity, embrace where we do have disagreements or whatever it may be, or misunderstandings, and turn that into the strength that binds us and guides us going forward. I can't thank you enough for reminding us of that. With all that's happening around America and around the world right now, the importance of respecting and embracing diversity and the importance of inclusiveness is so critically important. But you didn't wait for someone to tell you that. You told us that. You're driving this conversation and this message. So thank you so much for reminding us of something that's right in front of our faces, of something that really is a strength that binds us together. So when we make together as a community, amazing things can happen. I've seen it, I've learned it, I've loved it. I have some elements of some creative dreams that went from that thought to something that I use every day of my life or that I display as art. So we know something about the experience here in Santa Fe. Now I gave a shout out to a few of these folks, but good people deserve acknowledgement. I had a chance with Zane to go and we did a tour with a few friends with Ginger Richardson, Randy Castillo, and of course Zane Fisher at Make Santa Fe and Extraordinary Structures. What I love here is what Zane did is what many of you did. He had this small business, took a chance, leveraged some capital, found some ideas, and he was building and fabbing these incredible tiny houses, featured on television and shows, and just bringing all kinds of attention to what was happening here in New Mexico. And while that was extraordinary, he then did something daring. With all of that investment that he brought in with plasma cutters and carpentry material, and 3D printers, he let a bunch of strangers come in to use his equipment, to use his investment that he depends on for his livelihood, to start their own businesses. Those are the kind of heroes we need, Zane. And again, I thanked you once, but I'll thank you again. The more that we can do that across the country, the better off we will be. And by the way, Randy Castillo, I still want to lock in at the price associated with the boxes that you helped me make with that CNC router when I met you before you were a big thing. So let's talk about that as well. Randy left me this personalized wooden box cover where he found an intricate pattern to be able to turn something like this behind me into a flexible and pliable material, and created some art along the way. That little box became a memory box for me now. I'll forever cherish it. But he's changing people's lives because of it. So in November, the Digital Fabrication Apprenticeship Program between Make Santa Fe and Santa Fe YouthWorks. By the way, everyone, all the food that you're going to be eating today, it comes from the caterers, Dorothy, everyone that put this together, by taking a shot on an incredible program here in New Mexico. I don't know where Chef Carmen is, but with YouthWorks, so don't ever give up on anybody in your life. We all have struggles, we all have challenges, we know what they are, and we're here because someone else didn't give up on us. So when you find those friends and family, or even a stranger, don't give up on anyone, because there's something extraordinary within each and every one of us. Local resident Sarah Bostick kicked off her Santa Fe Fab Lab Hub this spring. She's working on job training programs with our Santa Fe Community College Trades and Advanced Technology Center. Look, our community college is killer. We have some incredible programs where they have these grow houses where they're growing tomatoes right now, and they're feeding it with tilapia. But as you look at the conversation with cannabis across America, I think they're getting ready for something else. So, look, we have a great school that they brought in some welding programs, fabrication programs, startup with small business applications. They're taking the best from traditional education and curriculum and doing in this community college with what we should be doing in high schools across America, and that's bringing back tech and fab and getting your hands dirty and critical thinking and problem solving and hell, maker spaces as well. In Las Vegas, this one guy that really got me into maker spaces, he was working with local veterans, and it's the Parachute Factory, and the idea here was how could he take learning to a whole new process and bring the community together. And in doing so, he brought in some incredible veterans, breaking apart appliances that people were tossing. They were taking those circuit boards out and creating just the incredible devices with students as well, and reintroducing engineering into these students' lives. Kip and Tim, I'm not sure where you are, but look, they're doing something where they're tapping into Marines across the country with that fab facility. Look, again, there is something incredible about all the skill sets that our friends are learning across America, so let's do the best that we can to bring them together. A special shout out as well, Representative Mark Takano out of California, Representative Tim Ryan for having the foresight to bring us together with that Makerspace Caucus that I talked about. They're driving the conversation and they're making incredible things happen. Look, I prepared a lot of stuff here. I used a little bit of it. You all are inspiring us. You're taking chances. You're not living by the norms and by the rules. And with everything that we're facing right now in America, we need you. The world needs you. Keep doing what you're doing. Challenge everybody, including lawmakers, to make sure that they're looking outside of the lines, that it's okay to scribble and you don't have to stay within those lines or those constraints, but to challenge us to make sure that we're dreaming and we're thinking and that we're actually delivering and making. So, Dorothy, for getting this done, Zane for having the foresight of putting the team together to take a shot and highlight Santa Fe, New Mexico. Thank you so much. Everyone, please make New Mexico home in one way or another, and please fall in love with our art, our food, and especially our spirit and our vibrance here in this beautiful place that we call home. Come on back and visit us. I look forward to learning from you and making sure that we don't get in your way, but we help you succeed. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks for having me.